In the French National Assembly, a charged atmosphere unfolded as Prime Minister François Bayrou faced a decisive confidence vote over his government's management of the economy and public finances, with lawmakers from across the political spectrum delivering stinging critiques and positioning themselves for what could be a major political turning point for France. Socialist leader Boris Vallaud, representing the Landis department and leading his party in parliament, delivered one of the sharpest attacks, accusing Bayrou of abandoning the people he had sworn to serve, arguing that rather than preparing a budget during the summer months, the Prime Minister had instead been preparing his own exit, a gesture Vallaud described as false sacrifice that disguised a much deeper reality, the sacrifice of millions of ordinary French people, including precarious workers, isolated local mayors, and citizens who can no longer live decently from their labor, all of whom, he said, were being forced to carry the burden of Bayrou's political ambition. The socialist lawmaker accused Bayrou of seeking to write his own legend as a future king, whose personal ends justified public means, labeling the move not just a political error but a moral failing, and he insisted that under Bayrou's leadership the government had delivered nothing but delays, broken promises, and betrayals, declaring that the socialist group would vote against the confidence motion as a matter of responsibility, while positioning themselves, along with the Greens and other allies on the left, as a force ready to govern and provide political stability, fiscal responsibility, and above all social and territorial justice, emphasizing a program centered not on taxing labor but capital, not on squeezing small businesses but targeting multinationals, not on austerity but on equitable redistribution and economic recovery. His words drew strong applause from socialist lawmakers and underlined growing expectations that President Emmanuel Macron, already under pressure after cycling through 3 previous prime ministers in less than 2 years, might soon be forced to consider appointing a candidate from the center-left if Bayrou's government fell. Although such a choice would carry its own difficulties, since Macron's liberal bloc remains firmly opposed to core left-wing proposals, particularly tax increases on the wealthiest households, even though supporters argue such measures are necessary to plug the country's massive financial gap, with France's public deficit nearly double the European Union's 3% ceiling and debt standing at more than 113% of GDP. The tone of the debate then shifted sharply as Laurent Wauquiez, leader of the Conservative Republicans and a lawmaker from Haute-Loire, rose to the podium to deliver his own assessment, first warning that the far-left France Unbowed movement, led by Jean-Luc Mélenchon, represented what he called the greatest political danger to the French Republic, vowing that his party would never support any government that included their deputies, nor any socialist-led cabinet that endorsed what he described as the disastrous program of the New Popular Front, a coalition of left-wing parties. Yet Wauquiez also took aim directly at Bayrou's budget, criticizing not only hidden tax hikes but also the controversial plan to abolish 2 public holidays, a measure that would require French citizens to work more days without additional pay, effectively increasing their burden while leaving social assistance untouched, and he argued that this amounted to punishing working France rather than supporting it, stressing that if Bayrou had truly listened to the concerns of ordinary workers, the Republican right would have been united in support, but instead, he noted, his group was divided, with some lawmakers prepared to back the government without enthusiasm out of a sense of responsibility, while others, equally respectable in his view, would vote against, holding firm to the conviction that the Prime Minister had failed to respect their core values. His intervention underscored the fragile position Bayrou now occupies, caught between fierce opposition from the socialists and skepticism from Republicans, while at the same time struggling to deliver a credible plan to address France's financial imbalances. And for Macron the stakes are equally high, as the survival of Bayrou's government will determine whether the president is forced into yet another reshuffle and a potentially risky alliance with the center-left, a move that could stabilize parliament but deepen ideological divisions, meaning the outcome of this confidence vote is about much more than one man's political fate. It could redefine the balance of power in France and shape the government's economic and social direction at a time when millions of French people are already under strain.